All right, what's going on, everyone? We got a new Dandadan chapter today. Obviously, there's a lot to talk about, and we got to talk about the stuff that happened last week because people are still pretty upset about last week's chapter, and it didn't really get answered this week. So let's talk about it. I read the chapter ahead. Usually, I like to review the chapter, live react, but I read the chapter ahead only because I wanted to know ahead of time, like, what's the deal with Momo. Of course, typical, we still have no idea what's going on with Momo. But we learned some stuff about Count Saint Germain, so yeah, this is going to be interesting for sure. Got Tyler in chat. How you doing, Tyler? We got Edens. For the people who have read the chapter, how would we rate the chapter? Why don't we go ahead and start talking about the chapter? Although I have a few things to say. We got Guns in chat. How you doing, Guns? I lost my train of thought here. I guess I want to make one comment before we get into the chapter about the state of the Dandadan community after season 2, and like what I've noticed. The community, it's roughly the same, but it kind of confirmed what I've been seeing, where the manga community for Dandadan is bigger than ever, but still not as strong as other manga communities. Like, you look at Chainsaw Man. Chainsaw Man is like almost the exact opposite, where like people watch the anime, but I don't feel like anyone is like a diehard Chainsaw Man anime fan, right? But people will like die by the sword for the manga. It's like night and day. Versus Dandadan, the manga, even now, like, you have a ton of anime fans, and like I feel like comparatively very few manga fans. Like, it's still one of Jump's most popular manga. Like, even compared to Chainsaw Man, it doesn't seem nearly as popular. Which is weird because you have a series like Demon Slayer, anime blows up, everyone starts reading the manga, everyone cares about the manga. Dandadan blows up, and it's like, some new fans, but not everybody. So, in between season 2 and season 3, I think we will see discourse surrounding Dandadan die down a bit, which I think is a good thing. I think after, one core, people start to get very hyperbolic, as we saw with last week's chapter. Reze Arc movie made a lot of money. Trailers for Chainsaw Man were the most liked on YouTube. What do you mean by most liked? Like, for Chainsaw Man? What do you mean? No, I kind of expected the Reze movie to do well. I just, I don't know. I don't really get the whole global release thing. I think it's stupid. Anyway, let's go ahead and talk about the new chapter. just want to check one thing. Okay. For the anime? Oh, okay. That's crazy. I mean, that makes sense, but still, that's crazy. I think that just goes to show, like, how Chainsaw Man has kind of grown since season 1. That's what I feel like. I think the Look Back movie did wonders for Fujimoto stocks. I think post Chainsaw Man season 1, Fujimoto stocks were kinda, you know, tanking. But I think Look Back really made people look at Fujimoto in general in a completely new light, just because they did such a good job with that movie. So I think that's why Chainsaw Man has a little more ground to stand on now. What do you think will happen next? I don't know. We're gonna have to look at the new chapter and find out. Why is Saint Germain a baker? Saint Germain is arguably like the weirdest normal person in manga. He feels like a JoJo's character. Or he feels like a JoJo character, I should say. I guess the best way to put it is he is the most JoJo Dandadan character. Which feels like a good transition into the chapter. So we're on chapter 211, Who the Heck? Alright, so obviously seems to be a reference to Momo's amnesia. We got Oscar in the chat. Oscar's been a member for 6 months. Everybody give a shout out to Oscar. How you doing, Oscar? If you're hanging out in chat. 15 out of 10 Dandadan chapter. I don't know if it was that good. I'd give it like an 8 out of a 10. We did get some nice character moments, and we did learn a bit about the world, I guess. Dead Sea Pirate, I have no idea what you just said. Dandadan going to 1,000 chapters? I don't think so. I keep saying like 350 chapters, but the longer Dandadan goes on, the more I feel like it's gonna go to like 400 or 500 chapters, but it's still too early to say. We're at that threshold though of like he's about to set up the next arc, and I think depending on how the next arc gets set up, we'll have an idea of whether we're really in the next in the final arc, or like there's a couple arcs left. You guys remember the Dragon Ball Super superhero movie? The thing with Cell Max, that will be the perfect yokai, I guess. I mean, I kind of get what you're saying, but I don't think that's like a perfect parallel. I think that's what makes the chapter highly rated though. It's because of who it's covering and what we're getting, despite it not being a heavy action chapter. Yeah, I mean, it was a good chapter, but like, I wasn't like wowed, I guess. It was good. I'd give it like an 8 or a 9. I think 15 out of 10 is a bit dramatic. There's something I forgot to tell you earlier. I got accepted into university majoring in Japanese studies, and tomorrow I'm leaving to another city because of it. Everybody in chat, give a round of applause or a thumbs up for Oscar. That's awesome. Congratulations, Oscars. That's Oscar. That's amazing. Good luck on your studies. Hopefully all goes well and you have fun doing it too. Yeah, Dead Sea Pirate. You're gonna have to jog my memory. I don't remember which character that is. Lore drop was the lore drop was like long overdue. And also the character interactions were very fun, but also perfectly vague. So that's why I'd say this is a good chapter. Thoughts on the Okaroon being an alien theory destroyed by this chapter? I mean, we already kind of knew that, but I don't know. People have got some wild Dandadan theories that I'm just like, are we reading the same manga? Are you just making shit up? Did you guys realize Dandadan has become more popular than Chainsaw Man on all manga apps? And is selling more, or well, they are selling close, but if you go to Manga Plus, maybe in Japan it's different, but at least when I look at Manga Plus, Chainsaw Man is consistently above Dandadan. It might be different on Viz. Perfectly. I'm like kind of shocked that people aren't, you know, in an uproar about this chapter, that like they didn't address Momo. I think it goes to show that people were just being deliberately dramatic last week and nobody is legitimately concerned about Dandadan. I think people are chilling. We got Yato Gami in chat. What's going on, Yato? Everybody say hi to Yato. Fellow YouTuber. Yeah, that's right. We got the October stuff, which reminds me, I gotta log into WoW. I haven't logged into WoW all month. I need to get the trading post stuff before it sells out, or before they close it. Yeah, Dead Sea Pirate. I gotta be honest, I still don't remember that character. I am due for a Steel Ball Run reread. I started it and then I just kind of stopped for no reason. Guys, this is the final arc. I don't know. I thought it was gonna be, and now I'm like 50-50. Do we think Count Saint Germain is a girl? I don't think so. Chainsaw Man was released before Dandadan, so it's not a fair comparison. One Piece came out way before Demon Slayer, and Demon Slayer, you know, crushed it for however many years. So, respectfully, that argument is not so solid. I do hear what you're saying, though. More people read Dandadan than Chainsaw Man last week. Gakusei, you're gonna have to point me in where you're finding that metric, where you're finding that stat, because I didn't really see that anywhere. Thoughts on the unfinished art in Kagurabachi this week? I kind of expected it at some point. Kagurabachi is like in every sense the spiritual successor of Jujutsu Kaisen, in that like it's got the exact same fan base, and like everyone is hyping the shit out of it, and you know they expect it to be like this 10 out of 10 manga that's gonna save Jump or something. And what do you know, the guy, I don't think the mangaka has taken a break once. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I can't remember the last time Kagurabachi was on break. Speaking of which, have you seen the Steel Ball Run anime teaser? Expected to release 2026 Netflix. Yeah, I saw the last teaser trailer, and I gotta be honest, I think Steel Ball Run looks incredibly mid. I think it looks colorful and it looks okay, but it's got CGI that already has me feeling iffy, and the animation from the trailers just looks okay. Like, they're really not leading with their strong suit. They're not putting their best foot forward in terms of like marketing how good the season looks. So I'm expecting the season to look okay at best. Are you a Disney or Universal man for vacation? If I had to pick between the two, I would rather go to Disney. I think Dandadan is going to go worldwide in the story. I think that would be fun. I don't know how long it would last, but I think that would be fun. I don't think this is the final arc, at least never felt that way. I don't think it's the final arc yet. I think if it's going to end around chapter 350, they have to set up the final arc by like the end of next year. But I don't know, it's starting to feel like this manga is going to be closer to like 400 chapters. That's what it's starting to feel like, the way we're transitioning into a new arc. But again, it's still way too early. I don't think the amnesia plot will last long. I don't know. I think, excuse me, I think it could either end very fast or, excuse me, it's going to be like a 20 chapter arc. I have no idea. I will help you in your revenge, but in return you have to do something for me. It's a very important mission. What is this? Bread. Yeah, you have to understand that, like, there's a lot going on with Count Saint Germain making the alien, who we still don't know who their name is, by the way. I guess we can go. What are people calling her? Are we just calling her the mercenary? What are we calling her? There's a lot going on. So let's get into the chapter. I'll answer one more thing in chat. I saw on Manga Plus last week, Dandadan was higher. You would have to tell me when you saw that, because I looked at Manga Plus 2 times last week and Chainsaw Man was higher than, like, way higher than Dandadan. Not that I'm not trying to tell you you're wrong. I'm just saying I don't know when you saw this. What's going on, Tyler? Glad to have you. Let's name her Lizzo. Absolutely not. No disrespect, but I have no... I don't really care for Lizzo. Especially after didn't she like fat shame a bunch of people? In like the most toxic way too. Like absurdly toxic. Anyway, so we start off at this bakery called Tasty Geezer Breads. Anybody in chat, is this like a Japanese thing? Is this like a bit? Or is it just like a really random name for the bakery? Because I don't know why it's called Tasty Geezer Breads. I don't really know what's going on there. Anyway, so Count Saint Germain, they're kneading the bread. The mercenary says, what is the meaning of this? They're fighting because she's basically like, what the hell do you have me doing here? She's saying the suit he gave her was a piece of junk, and he's saying that she didn't know how to use it. I want you to do a solid job in this bakery. That's why I hired you after all. he's like he's very much about personas and like being normal, I guess. I don't know, this chapter hinted at sort of a weird motivation for Count Saint Germain. And I want to talk about it. But he's like very silly. He's a purposefully silly character. Like when the Red Baron shows up, he goes, "Oh dear, I guess I overbaked it." Right? Probably knowing that the Red Baron is showing up, but he's like making a joke about it. The Red Baron says, "Who might you be?" All right. And then he says, "I wish you wouldn't react that way every single time." So there's a bit of a, what this chapter does is set up a sort of, I guess, tension between the Red Baron and Saint Germain, because the Red Baron seems very loyal to Saint Germain, but he also seems to have they seem to have a difference of perspective. The Red Baron seems like very straight to the point and serious, whereas Saint Germain seems to be a bit more high concept and like very silly. Like he's not afraid to like look stupid, but we don't know exactly why he does the things he does. Like there was the one chapter, I think last year, yeah, it would have been last year. If you go back, there's a random chapter where he's working at the school and he's just randomly watching basketball explanation videos from like the 60s. It's like super random. So he makes like these very absurd efforts to look normal, and it's highlighted in this chapter that it seems to be very deliberate on his part. So the fact that it keeps coming up that this is something he deliberately does is clearly being set up to be a part of his motivation that we're going to find out about later in the story. Something interesting that Saint Germain points out, he says, "You stink of tobacco." So we knew this already, but Red Baron is 100% like cigarette themed. Like the Red Baron, those are that's a cigarette brand, I think, in Japan. All of his attacks were cigarette themed. I think they were like Marlboro themed, right? So he's all about cigarettes, and Saint Germain kind of confirmed that like even his smoke isn't like, you know, just like steam. It's like cigarette smoke, like tobacco smoke. So they go in the alley, the back of the bakery, or it seems to be like a back room. The lizards sent by the Serpo to help only got in my way in the end. So that confirms that the lizards were probably aliens and not yokai, as we thought. He says, "I return to you the Kozuka you loaned to me." We find out that everything that just happened over the last 50 chapters was a result of the Red Baron's plans. He tries to claim responsibility, but Saint Germain says, no, I'm not going to punish you because we learned something valuable. We confirmed yokai suitability in the development of their powers. Koki basically confirmed that she has an exceptional gift. She was able to level up her ability. We get 2 mentions of the Sorcerers Association and how now they're on the hunt for Saint Germain and his organization. We find out that he has sort of a loose alliance with the Serpos. It mostly seems to be an alliance of necessity where neither party really likes the other, but they're like playing it cool until one of them has the upper hand. What is Oscar saying? Does Saint Germain pay taxes? I don't know, because like we don't know if this is like a legit bakery or if this is just something he has set up for a cover. A guy who has connections in the world of yokai and spirits, who has a ghost friend and an alien friend. Sounds like a plot from Gintama. Honestly, yeah. Everyone agrees to call the alien mercenary Kerr baddie. It's definitely a baddie, but I think the mercenary is appropriate. Or the Kerr. Now the saying that the space chick has a bakery takes on new meaning. Was that a saying before? I don't get that. Opinion on White Fox Anime Studio. I don't really have an opinion because I haven't seen either of those anime. If you watch Sea Tactics, you'll know she's called Kerr baddie. I don't really get that reference. Guys, we're making very obscure references that I hope everybody else appreciates because they're going right over my head. And here's where we get the setup for the next arc or two. How about this? We turn Takakura and the others into our friends so that we may create the ultimate yokai. So let's talk about this, right? Because we get this, what the hell do you call this? Not pendulum. We get the mandala, right? Is that what you call it? A mandala. This is the second time we have seen a sort of Buddhist mandala. The first time was when Saint Germain said, "Have you heard of the Dandadan?" And we got all the mandala patterns. Now we see a mandala pattern again, but this time it's a bit more specific. This time it seems to be like a machine. And I'm not quite sure what we're looking at, if it's purely, you know, this abstract metaphorical image, or if we're looking at something that actually exists in the story and they're just kind of teasing it. Because it looks because of the like intricate mechanical design on it, it looks like something that exists in the story and they're like waiting to set it up, I guess. I don't know. But in terms of like what this means for the Dandadan, right? We seem to be getting a more concrete idea of what the Dandadan is. It seems to be not Saint Germain giving himself all the powers. It seems like they want to create like the ultimate human weapon, but use a guinea pig for it. Based on this image of this like random character, right? But I don't know. He says, "We turn Takakura and the others into our friends so that we may create the ultimate yokai." This also doesn't disprove my theory that they're going to manipulate Okarune and or Momo now that she doesn't have her memories, and they're going to use that to their advantage to steal their powers. Anyway, something that we get in this chapter, we get the scene of the mother and the little girl giving the origami to the Kerr mercenary, and she has a moment of like affection, and like she genuinely seems to appreciate it. So clearly there's potential for her to be turned and to join Okaroon and his team. She doesn't really want to be a bad guy. She just seems lost and like kind of purposeless. So I hope we get a nice character arc for her, excuse me. Of course Serpo doesn't like Saint Germain. Serpo portrayed as corporate employees. You think corporate employees like an honest bakery worker? That's awesome. Yeah, they definitely seem to have a difference of opinion for sure. Saint Germain is like Kinta. He just prefers building yokai instead of mecha. He's a fan of spiritual anime. He's definitely a collector, a hoarder for sure. What even is that panel? How do you explain that? The only thing I can explain is it seems to be some kind of infusion machine, but it's got like these mandalas that we saw the first time that Saint Germain mentioned the Dandadan. Jet Redemption being laid out. Need to see her and Vamola interact. Yeah, that's going to be interesting if she interacts with Vamola. Because she can be like, hey, remember when I killed your planet? When was the last time we got a sad backstory? I feel like technically that would either be Koki or it would actually, no, it would be the Kerr mercenary, because we got her backstory sort of about her wedding, or the wedding that wasn't. Maybe Dandadan will be something we'll have to fight against at the end of the series. We've been leading up to Dandadan this whole time. That seems to be the end goal. But the question is like, what exactly is it going to be? Is it going to be some like, what the hell is the word? What was the thing in Castlevania where they put Dracula and his wife into one body? Is it going to be like some homunculus, some homunculi, right? That just has no personality or has like split personalities? I don't know. What do I think of today's Dandadan chapter? How long do I think the amnesia trope will last? I think it'll last maybe 20 chapters, and I think today's chapter is a solid 8 out of 10. Anyway, so I mentioned it before. I'll mention it again. The Red Baron leaves with a very casual disguise, nothing crazy. But he says something that seems to reveal a sort of riff between him and Saint Germain. He says, nobility, friends with commoners, impossible. Why would we make them our friends? So, and he says something about pretending to be common people. What's he hoping to achieve? So there does seem to be a hint that like even among his people, like his crew, Saint Germain is something of an oddity. Because the Red Baron, the way he acts, he implies that like his people, like they should basically take over the world, right? But Saint Germain doesn't seem to want that goal. He just seems to want to collect powers and hide in the shadows. So there seems to be a very deliberate attempt to make his motivations vague. There's an interesting connection between humans and yokai. Maybe it's similar to Chainsaw Man, where the yokai are formed partially due to myths and rumors that humans spread. That's exactly what happens. That's exactly what happens in Dandadan. You're exactly right. The Dandadan is the friends we made along the way. Hate that. Nice try, though. Anyway, important lore dump. Seiko explains long ago, exorcist battle, yada yada yada. But the enemy was no yokai, it was humans. And they have some very suspicious costumes, by the way. That's all I'm going to say there. They're called the Black Paladins, which is a very cool, but like also basic kind of name. I don't know. I like that. The Black Paladins, depending on how it's fleshed out, I think that's kind of a badass name. Anyway, basically the Black Paladins are people who work for corporations to take out other corporations, sort of in like hush-hush, black ops, corporate espionage. And a famous person in that industry is an assassin who calls himself the Flying Ace. Pretty clearly seems to be the Red Baron. I don't think anyone's mistaken about that. They operate overseas, but it seems like they're coming here now. There's even more of those guys, which kind of confirms what we already suspected with the introduction of the Red Baron. The Sorcerers Association put out various alerts, so that's the second time. So I think it's only a matter of time before we meet some more characters from the Sorcerers Association. So I don't know, the stuff with the Black Paladins and the Sorcerers Association now, it kind of feels like Dandadan might go on for 400 chapters. Like it might end around like chapter 400 or even 450, because it seems like there's going to be, it seems like Tatsu wants to spend some time fleshing out these Black Paladins and the Sorcerers Association. It doesn't seem like these are just random lore dumps. Anyway, then we find out Vamola is back in the party. She made her way. Vamola has her memories. Momo does not, and Seiko confirms Momo forgets how to use her powers, which further confirms she forgot everybody except Seiko, and she seems to have lost her memories up through the beginning of episode 1 or chapter 1. Do you think the author will drag out Momo Okurun's proper confession and dating? It kind of seems like it's not going to happen until the very end of the story. That's what it feels like. I know it's late, but what's your opinion on Dandadan Season 2? I think it was better than Season 1 overall, but it's less popular and lower rated than Season 1. I mean, I just think there wasn't as much plot stuff going on, and they waited until the end of the season to drop the Vamola stuff, which was arguably the most exciting, minus the Evil Eye stuff. It's weird because the Evil Eye stuff, they like started it halfway, so the hype was like there, but like, I don't know. So I think the season was good. I think they did a really good job. I just think it was sort of an in-between season. We're seeing peak Momo again? What do you mean? What do you mean by, oh, Momo's peak transformation? I hope so, because I feel like she's well overdue for a power boost. Like she's one of the more reliable characters, but I feel like she really hasn't gotten a lot of new abilities. People never expected Dandadan to have this many serious fights, and they got bored because it felt like it was dragged on, is what I heard. Yeah. Dandadan is weird in that it has mass appeal, but like it like isn't specific enough. It like wants to be a romance, but also doesn't want to be a romance. It is very clearly a battle series, but it doesn't follow the typical structure of a battle series. It's like very uniquely its own thing. So I think when you see people react to Dandadan certain ways, I think you just have to kind of like accept it for what it is and just understand that like Dandadan is not going to play out the way you expect it. You would think Momo could shoot projectiles. I think, well, she has the tri-beam, right? Didn't she do that in the Space Globalists arc? But yeah, I think she'll get more abilities like that for sure. Or like at least be able to transform into her full power form more often. I'm actually curious now that people brought it up. Anyway, that's the chapter. I don't know what the hell is going to happen with Momo. I think hopefully that's going to get addressed next week, but I kind of get the feeling that what's going to happen next week is we're going to cut away from the hospital again, and we're going to cut to Okarun, and it's going to be like a whole Okarun chapter, possibly touch on stuff with Koki and those characters, because remember, Okarun is doing his spirit training. So I think we'll maybe get some more lore stuff or some exposition, and then we'll transition into Okarun making his way back to Momo, and then before Seiko can explain the situation, Okarun will say hi to Momo and she'll be like, "Who are you?" But we'll see. That's my prediction anyway. At least Science Saru is making money with it, even though the ratings aren't high. Yeah, let's talk about this, because you have me thinking Dandadan's getting like 6 out of 10s. Let's go to... Let's look at Mal first. Dandadan Season 2 has an 8.5. That sounds pretty good to me. Let's look at reviews. Can I sort newest? I'm only seeing good reviews on Mal. Let's go to episodes. 4.3, 4.5, 4.5, 4.6. It's looking pretty good on Mal, so I don't know where you're seeing bad reviews. Maybe IMDb. Let's go to episodes. So season 2, 7-7, 8-9, 8-5, 8-9, 8-1, 8-6, 8, 8-5, 8-5, 7-8, 8-1, 8-6. So yeah, it's like a solid 8 or 9, which I think is very fair. I think the season was good, but you know, obviously it wasn't like the best season of anime I've ever seen. I think next season is going to be way better, but we'll see. Not even 9.0. 8.5 on Mal is pretty good considering how toxic people are. So like, let's look. Let's go to the main page. So it's number 146 on Mal. So can we go to top anime? If we go to for reference, Cyberpunk Edge Runners is number 95. Right? JoJo's Part 5 is 110. Attack on Titan is 118. Evangelion is 119. Jujutsu Kaisen is 138. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, 8.5 is... So Dr. Stone, which just got a bunch of, you know, 9s and 9.5s on IMDb, is an 8.5 as well. So 8.5 is very good. I am curious to see where it is on live charts, though. If we go to summer 2025 anime, still the top anime of the season. All right. Can we see reviews? It's got an 8.48, so 8.5. Let's go to... No, it doesn't show us. So, I mean, it's doing well. It's not like blowing people away, but it's far from mid. While I'm here, I do want to look at the fall anime. One Punch Man, not surprisingly, is #1 anticipated anime for the fall. Gachi Akuta #2, which is crazy. Like, it's ahead of Spy Family. So Gachi Akuta is like the black horse of anime right now. Like, nobody's really talking about it, but like in reality, everyone seems to be watching it, which I think is awesome. It's kind of like this season's Shangri-La Frontier, where like everyone was watching Shangri-La Frontier, but nobody talked about it. Gachi Akuta seems to be occupying a similar position, where like you look at Crunchyroll, you look at Live Chart, everyone is watching Gachi Akuta. You just don't see that many people talking about it. You think Dandadan got better chance to win Anime of the Year than last year? No, Solo Leveling will 100% get it, because it's got to compete with Solo Leveling Season 2, which was the most trending anime we've seen in forever. So not even close. Gachi Akuta is pretty good. I think it's amazing. Episode 12 of Gachi Akuta is great. I gotta be honest, I've been slacking, but I'm gonna be catching up to the anime soon, for sure. It's quite an easy series to get into. To be fair, it's good, has an interesting plot and story. I mean, yeah, I'm not going to disagree with any of that. I think it's awesome. I think it deserves to be as popular as it is. I just think it's had a weird uphill battle. I'll catch up with Gachi Akuta when it's over. I'm assuming you mean the anime and not the manga. Don't forget, it's still got like another 12 episodes. So you're going to be waiting until the end of the year, basically. Is it? Yeah, it's 24 episodes. 2 cores. My Hero is weirdly low. So I'm like curious to see what's going to happen with My Hero. I don't know. You're going to have a very weird battle between My Hero and One Punch Man. Because I think My Hero is going to end up being the better looking anime, but people are going to hate the story. And I think people are going to love the story for One Punch Man, but man, is it going to look bad. So it's going to be very weird, for sure. On that note, that's really all I have to say for today's stream. Thank you, everybody, for another great discussion. Make sure to watch today's video if you didn't miss it, or if you didn't catch it yet, on Spiral Power in Dandadan, and where I think the power system is headed. There'll be a new video tomorrow as well. And then, yeah, I have a couple videos planned for the weekend, but we also have Thursday stream Not too sure what the Thursday stream is going to be, but I'm sure I'll figure something out. What's your favorite anime right now? So out of running anime, probably Dandadan, but I have to shout out Shangri-La Frontier. I was literally watching anime the other day, like, god damn, I need Shangri-La Frontier to come back. That series is so freaking good, and I love the anime. I specifically have waited to read the manga because I love watching episodes weekly, but I think it's been too long. I think I need to catch up to the manga. Anyway, thanks everybody, and I will see you Thursday. Peace.